Look, no matter the position, there's always a few guys out there that are getting way overhyped. You know, dudes who will just never live up to the expectations that are being placed upon them. Meanwhile, on that flip side, we know for a fact that there's a lot of guys out there who are flying completely under the radar. But hey, don't worry about it. We got your back. We're gonna point out a few of both here for you. Quarterbacks get all the love, but today's golden era of wide receivers are also greatly responsible for ushering in the beloved pass-happy, offensive-driven era of NFL football that we are currently seeing. The majority of teams have at least one wide receiver who is capable of putting up 1,000 yards in a single season, though some teams actually have 2 or even 3 of those guys. But like every position, there are some wideouts who are getting way too much love for our liking, while others always seem to be overlooked by the general public. With that said, let's dive into the 5 most underrated wide receivers, as well as the 5 most overrated.
In stride, he hits Mike Williams, a spin move and a first down.
Underrated. Terry McLaurin. It is amazing what McLaurin has done with such mediocre quarterbacks throwing him the football through his first 3 seasons. His best QB between 2019 and 2021 was a toss-up between Taylor Heineke and a banged-up Alex Smith. Take your pick. Either way, McLaurin has always found a way to make it work. Scary Terry probably hits 1,000 yards as a rookie if he doesn't miss 2 games. He went over 1,000 yards and 70 receptions in each of his next 2 seasons though, even helping Washington to a surprise NFC East Division title in 2020. The Washington Commanders drafted McLaurin 76th overall in 2019. Perhaps one reason he's so underrated is because folks remember the many other quality receivers drafted that year, namely A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, Deontay Johnson, and DK Metcalf. McLaurin's numbers are also amazing because Washington lacked a true game-changing pass catcher to complement him. Even when he's drawing all the extra attention from defenses, McLaurin is always getting wide open. He's not the biggest guy on the field, but McLaurin's speed and slick route running make him a borderline top 10 receiver. If Washington ever gives him an elite QB, there is no telling how much more his numbers could improve. Overrated. Amari Cooper. It's hard to put a finger on what exactly makes Cooper overrated. Is it the $100 million deal that became a burden for the Dallas Cowboys? The fact he's only been truly elite for a year or 2? Either way, the guy is nothing close to a top 10 receiver. And we could easily argue that he's not even in the top 20 anymore. Cooper had 2 great seasons with the Oakland Raiders, followed by a very mediocre season and a half that led to his trade to Dallas. And sure, let's credit to him for that excellent 2018 showing in Big D, and for his 2019 Pro Bowl campaign. But it was pretty obvious that he would put up some big numbers as Dak Prescott's #1 receiver. When you get a lot of targets, you're gonna put up decent numbers. But it's not like Cooper was constantly taking over big games for Oakland or Dallas. You know, the way guys like DeVante Adams, Deebo Samuel, or Cooper Kupp do. Don't let the fact he played under the bright lights in Dallas fool you. Cooper is a very good receiver, but he's not elite. At this point in his career, there are probably over 24 receivers we'd take over him with a big game on the line. Underrated. DJ Moore. Moore has had a similar career to that of Terry McLaurin. He plays on a team that's lacked an above-average quarterback for a few years now, and he's probably overlooked because his NFL team has become irrelevant. But like McLaurin, it doesn't matter who is feeding Moore. The Panthers' 2018 first-round pick always finds a way to get open and burn opposing defensive backs with his impressive skill set. 2021 marked Moore's 3rd straight season of over 60 catches and north of 1,000 receiving yards. When you consider that superstar running back Christian McCaffrey missed most of the 2020 and 2021 seasons, it is especially remarkable that Moore was able to do all of this with opposing defenses able to focus solely on shutting him down. So, who would you say was the best QB Moore had from 2018 to 2021? An injured Cam Newton in 2018? Teddy Bridgewater? Yeah, I think you get the point. Here is hoping that Baker Mayfield can be the guy that helps Moore go from Pro Bowl caliber to among the NFL's elite. Overrated. Jerry Jeudy. Will the arrival of Russell Wilson change this? Possibly. But it feels like we should stop thinking of Jeudy as a budding star until he actually shows he has it in him. The Denver Broncos drafted Jeudy 15th overall in 2020. Remember the fun debate as to who the best receiver would be between Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, and CeeDee Lamb? The Cowboys wideout has made this non-debatable up to this point. In Jeudy's rookie season, Pro Football Focus had him down for 12 drops on the year. Only Deontay Johnson had more with 14. Though Jeudy led the Broncos in receiving that year with 856 yards, keep in mind that the top wideout, Courtland Sutton, was limited to one game because of an ACL tear. In 2021, Jeudy averaged 46.7 yards per game in the 10 games that he played. That still would have put him at a pace well below 1,000 yards throughout the entire 17-game season. And 1,000 yards isn't exactly an elite benchmark in this day and age. If you forgot the fact that Jeudy is a former first-round pick, you'd probably view him as a decent number 3 wideout. But the Broncos drafted him to be their number 1 guy, and he has fallen well short of that standard thus far. Underrated, Hunter Renfro. The Las Vegas Raiders are an interesting organization. They've wasted most of their first-round picks over the years, but they've made up for it by finding late-round gems like Hunter Renfro. After surpassing 600 yards in his rookie and sophomore years, the 5th-round pick from 2019 broke out in year 3. Renfro emerged as one of the game's elite slot receivers, racking up 103 catches for 1,038 yards and 9 touchdowns. Renfro was one of the game's top third-down targets for Derek Carr in 2021. And he did enough to help Vegas reach the postseason for just the 2nd time since 2003. Renfro will likely take a backseat to DeVante Adams, but that just means he'll remain overlooked by opposing defenses, which could result in even bigger things from the former Clemson star. Overrated, DeVante Parker. The ex-Miami Dolphin and current New England Patriot has been looked at by some as a potential number 1 wideout. Up to this point, however, Parker has basically played like a decent number 3 option. Parker seemingly broke out in 2019 when he racked up 72 catches for 1,202 yards and 9 touchdowns. And who can forget the game where he absolutely owned Defensive Player of the Year Stephon Gilmore? But other than that, Parker hasn't had any great seasons whatsoever. He surpassed the 70-catch and 800-yard receiving marks just once during the 2019 season. And he really hasn't been much of a red zone threat. When you ignore that 2019 campaign, the guy only had 15 total receiving touchdowns in his other 6 seasons as a Dolphin. It's easy to think that the great Bill Belichick will help Parker regain his 1,000-yard form, but we're not buying it. He was supposed to be Miami's top pass catcher for a long time, but he was only that guy for 1 year. So is it too soon to call this guy a one-year wonder? Underrated, Brandon Cooks. One day, your kids and grandkids will look at Brandon Cooks' production through his first 8 NFL seasons and ask why he switched teams so much. Especially when you consider he's not one of those guys who carries a ton of baggage wherever he goes. You know, like Antonio Brown, for example. After a decent 2014 rookie year with the New Orleans Saints, Cooks proceeded to post 1,000 yards in 6 of his next 7 seasons. Twice with the Saints, once with the Patriots, once with the Los Angeles Rams, and twice with the Houston Texans. Proving he doesn't need elite quarterbacks to put up the numbers. Cooks had 90 catches for 1,037 yards and 6 touchdowns in 2021. He is one of the game's premier deep threats, always making plays no matter the team or the quarterback. We leave you with just one more stat, which illustrates just how underrated Cooks has been. He has never been named to a Pro Bowl or All-Pro team. Overrated, Juju Smith-Schuster. Good chance that we regret this one, because if there's a QB out there who can help Smith-Schuster revive his career, it's Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. For a variety of reasons, Smith-Schuster just hasn't been the same since that 2018 breakout year in which he racked up 111 receptions for 1,426 yards and 7 touchdowns. He actually had more catches and yards than Antonio Brown that year, which is saying quite a lot. But unfortunately, that was Smith-Schuster's peak in the Steel City. He never got back to 100 catches or north of 900 yards again. Injuries and mediocre quarterback play in Pittsburgh led to a disappointing 2019 season. In 2021, his last with Pitt, he was limited to 5 games before suffering a shoulder injury that kept him sidelined for the remainder of the regular season. As we previously stated, guys like Moore and McLaurin put up all-world numbers without good QBs. Smith-Schuster's last great season was also Ben Roethlisberger's last great season. Does this mean Smith-Schuster is only only good when he has a top-level QB throwing him the football? We'll see how it all goes in Kansas City. Consider it the last chance for SmithSchuster to prove 2018 wasn't a fluke year. Underrated, Mike Williams. The number 7 pick of the 2017 NFL Draft looked like a potential bust through his first 2 seasons. That's the case with so many young stars, however. Sometimes you just gotta give them some time to figure it out. The 6'4" Williams finally broke out for the Los Angeles Chargers in 2019, racking up 49 catches for 1,001 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Williams had his best season yet for the Chargers in 2021, posting 76 catches for 1,146 yards and 9 scores. So why is he underrated? For one, he plays behind Keenan Allen, a likely future Hall of Famer and a key member of the Chargers for nearly a decade now. It's hard for Williams to garner attention when he's being overshadowed by guys like Allen, Austin Eckler, and Justin Herbert on that high-powered offense. The stats just don't do him justice. Williams is one of the game's toughest men to cover because of his massive 6'4", 218-pound frame, and because he has so much quickness for a man of his size. Good luck containing the Clemson product with one-on-one coverage downfield. Williams was good with Phillip Rivers in 2019, but he has been borderline elite with Justin Herbert throwing him the football. Even if Eckler and Allen finish with more total offensive yards than Williams, it doesn't mean you should overlook him. In fact, it may just be a matter of time until Williams becomes the undisputed #1 playmaker for the Bolts. Overrated, Marquise Brown. The Arizona Cardinals really traded a first-round pick to get a wideout with one good season on his resume. Well, that's rather interesting. The Baltimore Ravens drafted Williams 25th overall in 2019, hoping that he could take over as their new #1 wide receiver. Though Brown had 15 total TD receptions over his first 2 seasons, he never reached the 60-catch or 800-yard marks. That finally changed in 2022 when he racked up 91 catches for 1,008 yards and 6 touchdowns. But he's also seen his target totals double from his rookie year to last season. Drops have also been a big problem for Brown since entering the league. He dropped far too many easy passes from Jackson last season. It's not at all surprising the Ravens moved on from him and opted to roll with Rashad Bateman as their new #1. It's easy to think that Brown will go off with old friend Kyler Murray throwing him the football, but I gotta say, we're kinda skeptical. Mark Andrews was his only real competition for targets in Baltimore. Now that he's in the desert, Brown will have to share targets with DeAndre Hopkins, Zach Ertz, Rondale Moore, AJ Green, and James Conner. Can Murray help Brown live up to his potential as a bona fide star once and for all? If not, some people may be tempted to start calling the 25-year-old receiver a full-on draft bust. But who do you think is the NFL's most overrated and underrated wide receiver right now? Join us in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.